Hey there, I'm Monica, and I am the founder and CEO of Black Girl on Campus, also known as BGOC, where I take the overwhelm out of all things college for African American girls who will be or are first generation college students. And I want to thank you for joining me for today's Black Girl on Campus Lunch and Learn series. I started Black Girl on Campus back in 2017 because I too was a first generation college student when I went to school. And looking back, I know I could have used a community just like this because I missed out on a lot. I didn't know which way was up. I literally was learning as I went along, and I did a ton of stumbling. I know what it means to be uncertain and unsure on your college journey, once you're on campus, and once you're starting out on your professional career or in your professional career. What I'm here to do is help you feel more confident, empowered, clear, and ready to succeed as a first generation college student. So, what is Lunch and Learn? Lunch and Learn is a few minutes with me doing a brief teaching on a subject with a takeaway or two or three or four or five that you can implement though right away. They're not anything heavy, and you can implement them either in your college planning or college success as a first generation college student. The videos in Lunch and Learn are bite-sized for you to take what you need and again, implement right away. So I encourage you to check out the playlist for all the other goodness and all the other lunch and learns I've done. But today I'm going to be talking about tips and giving tips on interviewing, which is truly an art. You've gotten past the screening and have been invited for a one-to-one interview. Yay, yay you. And not even just one-to-one, it'll maybe more. And I'll talk about that later. With either the person or persons in charge of offering you this opportunity. This could be for a job, an internship, a scholarship. It's important to not only look good, but by using these tips, making yourself stand out in the mind of the interviewer. As a former hiring manager, I love teaching about the art of interviewing. So let's get started. Oh, this on time thing. The late author, Eric Jerome Dickey, said, early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable, with an exclamation mark. And this other author, her name is Ellen Hildebrand, she says, to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be forgotten. Woo! Or maybe you've heard it just the first two lines of it. Early is on time and on time is late. Whichever you've heard or prefer, arrive on time for your interview, which is customarily 10 to 15 minutes ahead of your scheduled interview time. If you get there like 30 minutes early, kill time outside. Do not, I repeat, do not go inside. It'll make you look too eager, and it'll even make you more nervous. Gather your thoughts outside at a nearby coffee shop. Maybe take a quick walk in the local park if there's one nearby, so you could arrive clear-headed and let your personality shine through. I'm going to give you a quick story. I was the chair of a scholarship fund for several years. And in one of our early years, the decision team had a really hard time deciding who to award the $5,000 scholarship to because it was between two candidates. They both had great grades. They both had the community service, the great community service. They interviewed well. It was like literally like here. They all checked the box. They checked the boxes, both of them. And you know what the thing was that tipped it? One of them was 10 minutes late for the interview. And that 10 minutes was the difference between $5,000 scholarship or $2,500 scholarship because we were giving away two at the time. And this was to college. And I know they both needed it. Again, arrive on time to any interview because it truly matters. Just like the slide says, it could be for a job. You could lose a job because of it. You could lose an internship because of it. You could lose, like that person did, they didn't use an entire scholarship. They didn't get the full one, but you could lose an entire scholarship to offset the cost of college because you were late. So always arrive on time. Do your due diligence. What do I mean when I say that? It means to do your research. Do not go into an interview cold. If you're interviewing for a job or even an internship, you should be knowledgeable of what the company is about, what they're all about, not just what they do, but what is their current focus right now? Because companies change. I mean, look at IG. They started out as a photos only platform, and now video is the preferred way to post. If it's Reels, if it's something, well, Reels is kind of the thing because they're trying to keep up with TikTok. And I don't want to date myself with this because the content, because social media changes so fast. So I don't want to date it by saying that, but that's what's happening in current days. But just take any social media platform. They've changed so much. Also, what's the company's main products or services? Who are their target demographic of customers? In addition to that, you should read that job description inside and out and be able to point the interviewer back to experience and skills that you have that make you the right fit based on what the description right there itself it says. And if you're applying for a scholarship or a fellowship, diligence looks like thoughtfully answering all of the questions. Don't skip a question. I can't stand it when people skip questions on an application because the questions are asked for a reason. So answer them. Diligence also looks like editing and proofing your application before submitting it and before the deadline. Because when you submit, you're rushing and you're trying to do it like right on top of the deadline, that leads to mistakes. And that could possibly potentially lead to you submitting something that's substandard and that's not the best representation of you. So do your due diligence. Now listen, I get it. You know, just because you're a recent grad or currently in college, maybe you're applying to an internship or even a scholarship, or even if you are a high school student, interviews do not have to be intimidating. I say it to my mentees all the time. I learn from you. I truly do. Your perspective is important. An interview is the time for you to showcase your best self. And think of it as going into the interview to walk out with a new contact for your network. And I do a lot of teaching about networking and stuff like that I'll talk about a little bit later. But I'm saying dialogue back and forth with the interviewer, not over talk because there is a difference. And more importantly, despite your educational status, you have something to share. You were invited for an interview and an interviewer wants to hear from you. Use that time to do just that. Sure, yes and no are answers, but not during an interview. Now is the time to expound on your resume or application submission because no one knows you better than you and can explain why this opportunity should be yours. Am I right about it? Oh, I love this because, as I've said, the resume or the application got you in the door. The interview is where you seal the deal, okay? Your life and how you've gotten to where you are is interesting. And no, the interview isn't that old TV show, This Is Your Life. And no, I didn't watch it in real time because it's before my time. I'm just a TV buff. But seriously, don't go into the interview talking about, oh, when I was 3 years old, my parents said I used to. You're not there for that. You're there to add a story or two that's salient to why you would be a good fit for the company or for the recipient of the scholarship or internship or whatever. What are your strengths, which is almost always, I'll say almost always a question from an interview and in an interview. And it's phrased different ways, but it always comes down to what are you good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? That might be something for sure that will be asked. But come up with a story that pulls from your educational and professional experience to date that helps you answer the question in a way that highlights your leadership skills that you have, or maybe you work well as a member of a team. When done effectively, sharing stories and examples about yourself in settings appropriate to the question will make you memorable in the eyes of the interviewer. I dig deeper into how to do all of that in my membership community, College Knowledge University, which I'll tell you about in a minute. I think I mentioned earlier, did I say I was a hiring manager? I think I did. When I was a hiring manager, I used to ask interviewees if they had a copy of their resume. Some did, but many didn't. It was a tactic that I used to use to see who was prepared, which also showed me in part how they think if they were hired at the company. As the slide says, it's important to have extra copies of your resume with you for several reasons, which are outlined on the slide as well. You never know who you'll be interviewing with, because I've seen it. When you do an awesome job at an interview, and I've also been a recipient of it, when you do an awesome job in an interview, it's quite possible you will be asked if you have a little bit more time to sit with another colleague, which is usually someone who is in the decision-making process. And that person probably won't have your resume on hand because it's just like off the cuff. They're asking, do you have some time? Because I can, sit you down with another colleague. If asked that, you don't want to have to shuffle that lone resume you brought or emailed to each meeting. If you have several, again, 5 or 6, you'll be ready and not have to have, just to say, oh, it's embarrassing. Can I use your printer to print another copy of my resume? Or do you have a copier so I can print? No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And finally, when you bring another resume, it refreshes the interviewer's mind as to why they brought you in there in the first place. A lot of people are interviewing. It's not just you. You know that. By handing the interviewer your resume as soon as you're brought in, again, referring to showing how prepared you are, even if they have the one that you emailed on their desk right there, it's one of those little things that can tip the deck for you in the whole process of interviewing and possibly getting this opportunity. So bring extra copies of your resume. I love this photo so much because this young lady looks like she is ready to slay. Do you hear me? But onto the slide. What do I mean by fight the stereotype? Biases exist in the world, whether because you are still in school or didn't have the best grades, but really want to go to college or don't have that much experience. Here's the thing. It all starts with your mindset, your mindset. You have to believe and know you are the right person for the job or the fellowship or the internship or the scholarship. Fight the urge to shrink back because you don't believe or you're unsure. The interviewer has a belief in you because you snagged the interview, which is your opportunity to just leave it all on the table by showcasing your best self. Keep it real and be honest about your experience and how, while it may not look like this could work, insert a story or example as to why you know it could work. Sound okay? Does that make sense? Keep the interview squarely focused on you and what you bring to the table and how it can translate into success if you're given the opportunity. I promise you got this. Like the slide says, you absolutely have got this. That was quick, right? I told you I don't go long. Thanks for watching. And if you learned something, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I do what I do with BGOC because in this video and everything that I do, there are things that I did not know as a first-generation college student, and I know that you should. So again, don't forget to check out the other videos in my Lunch and Learn series. And if you find this type of content helpful and you're in the 11th or 12th grade in high school, or you're a first year student in college, I invite you to join me, I mentioned it earlier, in my membership community, College Knowledge University, where you will have access to me, college admissions, and other professional experts that will make your journey into and while in college a success. The cost to be in College Knowledge University is nominal, but by participating, the outcome is massive, I'm telling you. The link for CKU is also in the description box below. And I've included resources and links and stuff like that to other things that I've created for first gen college student success that I've included in the description box that I hope you'll take advantage of. Thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you on my next Lunch and Learn.